I want you to step back for a moment and picture a scenario that, well, I think it's universally familiar to the overwhelming majority of us.
No, absolutely. We've all been there.
Right. So you wake up in a bustling metropolis or maybe just a quiet suburban street. The alarm jars you out of sleep. And before your feet even touch the floor, you are already running.
Just an immediate sprint.
Exactly. You are on a treadmill.
Mm.
But this isn't like for physical exercise. You're running because just ahead of you, floating right there on the horizon, is this shimmering image of the thing you firmly believe you need in order to finally exhale.
That one magical prize.
Yeah. It might be a towering pinnacle of professional success or an absolute unshakable fortress of financial security.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it is just a quiet, elusive sense of peace in your own mind.
Something that just always feels one step away.
Right. So you run. You push yourself to the absolute brink of physiological exhaustion. You sacrifice the very air in your lungs today, trading it for the hypothetical oxygen of some distant tomorrow.
And that's the tragedy of it, really.
It is. Because the cruelest mechanism of this entire agonizing pursuit is that no matter how fast you sprint, no matter how much of your vitality you burn, that horizon recedes at the exact same pace.
It remains forever one step out of reach.
Yes, forever.
And that treadmill is, well, it's perhaps the ultimate illusion of our modern existence.
The illusion.
Yeah, that horizon is inherently unreachable, not because you lack the stamina or, the intellect to get there, but because it is not a physical destination at all.
Wait, really?
I mean it. It's a mirage. It's a phantom generated by the very act of chasing itself.
Okay, hold on.
The faster you run toward it with the sensation of desperately needing it, the more you project it further into the distance.
I need to pause you right there because my rational mind immediately wants to fight that concept.
I expect nothing less. It's a provocative idea.
It really is. The idea that my effort is what pushes the goal away feels like a total betrayal of everything we are culturally conditioned to believe.
Right. The whole hard work equals success narrative.
Exactly. We are taught that you push the heavy boulder up the mountain, and through sheer force of will, you conquer the summit.
But what if you're pushing the boulder up the wrong mountain? Or what if there is no mountain?
Well, you are suggesting that the act of chasing is the very engine keeping the goal running away. And today our mission is to completely dismantle that illusion.
We have to tear it down to the studs.
We do.
Yeah.
We are embarking on an immense exploration today to construct a totally new paradigm. We're looking at a continuous dynamic cycle of existence, a way of living that reshapes reality from the inside out.
Shifting from the external to the internal.
Exactly. We're shifting away from the exhausting, endless pursuit of external prizes and moving toward the absolute mastery of internal frequencies.
And to do that, we have to look at the foundational error we make on that treadmill.
Which is what, exactly?
It is not a lack of effort. I mean, we exhaust ourselves, right? So effort is clearly not the missing ingredient here.
We are burning out by the millions, yeah.
Right. The error is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the architecture of reality is constructed.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Culturally, we're indoctrinated to believe that reality is something rigid, external, and entirely separate from us.
Like we're just characters dropped into a video game level that's already been built.
Exactly. We walk through life as if we are navigating a pre-existing maze made of solid stone. We believe we are completely at the mercy of circumstances.
And you're saying we aren't.
The truth operates on a far more profound level. Reality is a mental construct. We actively project it from our internal state.
We project it.
Yes. The dense physical world you interact with every day, it's merely the final, densest layer of a process that begins entirely within the invisible, subtle realm of consciousness.
Okay, I have to play skeptic here. Are you saying the physical structures around us, like the walls, the bank accounts, the jobs, are just projections?
In a sense, yes.
Because if I punch the wall right now, my knuckles will bleed. It feels undeniably physically real.
Well, it is physically real in its densified state, of course, but it did not originate as physical matter.
Okay.
Consider the mechanics of a towering skyscraper.
Picture a skyscraper.
Before the steel was forged, before the concrete was poured, that massive structure existed entirely as a formless idea in the mind of an architect.
The blueprint.
Exactly. The mental blueprint preceded the physical manifestation. In our own lives, our chronic internal states, our dominant beliefs and emotions act as that architect's blueprint.
So if I'm endlessly running on that treadmill.
You are the one powering the motor with your own internal state of lack. You feel that you do not have the object of your desire.
Yeah, because I don't. That's why I'm running.
But because you feel you don't have it, your internal blueprint is labeled absence.
Oh, wow.
And the physical world simply obeys the blueprint. It provides you with a continuous, undeniable experience of absence. You are quite literally projecting the distance.
That is wow. So to stop this exhausting chase, we clearly have to examine exactly what it is we are chasing.
We have to look at the targets.
Right. When we set goals, we usually fixate on highly specific, tangible things.
Very rigid things.
Yeah, we want a specific title on our office door, a vast constellation of square footage for a home, a very precise balance in our accounts.
We treat the universe like a vending machine.
Yes. We approach it exactly like a massive vending machine. We punch in the exact alphanumeric code, we insert our hard work as currency, and we stand there waiting for that specific candy bar to drop into the tray.
And that vending machine approach is precisely where we place a suffocating limitation on our own potential.
How so?
When we fixate on a highly specific material outcome, we inadvertently place a severe ceiling on the boundless possibilities available to us. We restrict the flow.
So what's the alternative?
The massive shift in perspective requires abandoning that rigid material target entirely.
Just throwing it out.
Throwing it out. Instead, we must adopt what we can define as an emotional blueprint.
An emotional blueprint, okay.
Rather than demanding a specific physical object, you must identify the core underlying sensation you are actually seeking.
Like asking myself why I want the house.
Exactly. Do you want absolute abundance? Do you want a profound, unshakable peace of mind? Or maybe a thrilling, electric sense of vitality?
Because the physical object is just the middleman, really.
It's always just a middleman.
We don't actually want the printed paper money or the stacked bricks of the house.
Mm-hmm.
We want the sensation of security or the freedom of movement that we firmly believe those physical items will provide.
You are seeking the feeling. Always.
Always.
So you establish your emotional blueprint. Let's take the frequency of feeling entirely prosperous and deeply fulfilled, and you adopt a mental posture of this, or an equivalent of far greater magnitude.
I like that. This, or something of greater magnitude.
Because it's rooted in the universal principle that everything in the physical universe is ultimately mental in its origin. By demanding a narrow, hyperspecific physical outcome, you are limiting a boundless, infinite system to the narrow confines of your current human imagination.
And our imaginations are pretty limited, let's be honest.
Heavily restricted by our past experiences.
Yeah, I totally understand the appeal of leaving the door open for something of greater magnitude. It sounds really expansive.
It is expansive.
But I have to challenge this premise again because I know what you, the listener, navigating a difficult reality, are thinking right now.
Bring on the challenge.
Isn't it just a basic survival mechanism to want tangible things?
Of course it is.
If a person is struggling just to put a roof over their family's head, telling them to abandon the physical goal and focus on an emotional blueprint of abundance sounds, well, it sounds detached.
It can sound like toxic positivity if misunderstood, yes.
Almost dangerously disconnected from the gritty reality of survival. It feels like trying to program a navigation system without giving it a destination address.
That's a great analogy.
Right. If we only program how we want the weather to feel when we arrive, how does the vehicle know which roads to take?
That is a very grounded challenge, and it requires us to reframe how that internal navigation system actually functions within the human biological and psychological framework.
Okay, let's get into the biology.
Let's examine the brain's biological filtering matrix.
The filter.
Yes, the human brain is constantly bombarded by an endless tide of sensory data. Millions of stimuli every single moment.
Too much to process.
If we processed all of it, our nervous systems would literally collapse under the weight of the information.
So what does the brain do?
To survive, it utilizes a highly sophisticated filtering matrix that deletes the overwhelming majority of that information. It only allows into your conscious awareness the data that aligns with your current programming.
So it creates a massive bottleneck.
Yeah, a huge bottleneck.
And we only see the tiny fragment of reality that slips through that filter.
Indeed. Now, when you focus purely on a highly specific material object, let us say, acquiring one particular job at one particular company, you program that biological filter to look for only one extremely narrow path.
You essentially blind yourself to the rest of the world.
You do. By programming the exact rigid address, you systematically filter out a vast constellation of alternate routes that might be faster, more scenic, or lead to a far superior destination that you didn't even know existed.
So the brain essentially deletes whatever isn't relevant to the specific program,
It treats it as background noise.
meaning an opportunity for a different, significantly better job could be staring me right in the face, and my optic nerve quite literally wouldn't register its significance because my filter is set too narrowly.
It becomes invisible to you.
That is terrifying, actually.
It is. However, when you program an emotional state instead, for example, the profound sensation of absolute security, creative fulfillment, and overwhelming abundance, you widen the aperture of that filtering system.
You open the lens.
You activate it to scan the environment for absolutely anything that matches that expansive frequency.
Oh, I see.
The underlying unified field of existence possesses a far grander design, a far more intricate web of intersecting possibilities than our localized, rational minds could ever engineer.
So letting go isn't giving up.
Not at all. When you relinquish the specific physical form of your desire, you do not become aimless. On the contrary, you become hyper-receptive.
You invite a reality of overwhelming magnitude to organize itself around your frequency.
Precisely.
Let me make sure I'm synthesizing this correctly. Instead of demanding the universe provide a specific wooden boat for me to cross a dangerous river,
Yes, the specific object.
I focus entirely on the sensation of having safely reached the other side.
The emotional blueprint.
Right. And by holding that sensation, my peripheral vision expands, and suddenly I notice a sturdy bridge, a mile downstream, that was completely filtered out of my awareness when I was obsessed with finding the boat.
That captures the mechanics beautifully. The bridge was always there.
But I couldn't see it.
Exactly. The mental plane dictates the physical plane. When you lock your internal state into the emotional blueprint of prosperity, you are emitting a continuous, undeniable electromagnetic signature.
Like a beacon.
Yes, over the passage of time, the physical plane must reorganize its particles and circumstances to mirror that signature. It is a matter of resonance.
But it demands a leap of faith, doesn't it?
It demands the initial, profound leap of trusting the invisible blueprint over the tangible object.
Okay, let's take this out of the abstract and drag it right into the mud of real life.
Let's get muddy.
We have tossed the specific address out the window.
Right.
We have mapped out our beautiful emotional blueprint. We know we want to feel immense, unshakable vitality and absolute peace.
A great baseline.
So we close our eyes and we cultivate that feeling. We really feel it. But then we open our eyes.
And reality hits.
We look at our current immediate surroundings and we notice a massive, raging storm. The bank account is depleted. The physical body is exhausted. The social situation is in ruins. How on earth do we face a current reality that is actively terrifying without instantly losing that beautiful frequency we just tried to establish?
It's the hardest part of the process.
Because the natural instinct is to absolutely panic.
Facing the storm is where the true mastery of this paradigm really begins.
How do we do it?
The current state of your life, no matter how dire or chaotic, must be viewed strictly as a diagnostic tool.
A diagnostic tool, like reading a gauge on a dashboard.
Exactly. It must be observed entirely without judgment or emotional reactivity.
Easier said than done.
Oh, without question. But
Yeah.
when you look at the collapsing structures around you, you must realize you are not looking at your present. And you are certainly not looking at your future.
Then what am I looking at?
You are looking at an echo.
An echo.
The dense physical reality you're experiencing in this exact second is nothing more than the materialized residue of the person you used to be.
Oh, wow.
It is the delayed manifestation of your past frequencies.
The delayed manifestation of past frequencies. That completely recontextualizes the pain of the present moment.
It depersonalizes it.
It really stops you from taking your current struggle so personally. When the terrifying bill arrives in the mail or the rejection letter comes, it's not a reflection of who I am today.
No, it isn't.
It's just old mail finally arriving from a previous era of my life.
It is the exhaust fumes of your previous state of consciousness.
Exhaust fumes. That's brilliant.
To navigate this delay without sinking into despair, we must integrate two fundamental universal principles.
How are they?
The principle of correspondence and the principle of polarity.
Let's break those down.
The principle of correspondence asserts that the outer world is always a flawless, unbiased reflection of the inner world. As within, so without.
Okay, so the mirror.
Yes. Therefore, if your outer world is currently reflecting a severe state of lack, it is simply objective diagnostic data. It is revealing that your internal frequency was, in the recent past, resting heavily in a state of lack.
So it's not a punishment from the universe.
Not at all.
It's just a biofeedback mechanism showing me where my internal dial was set.
Exactly, but it goes far beyond simple biofeedback because it reveals the hidden architecture of change.
Okay, and this is where polarity comes in.
This is where polarity comes in, which is where true liberation is found. Polarity dictates that everything in existence has an opposite, but those opposites are fundamentally identical in their nature.
Identical. How can opposites be identical?
They vary only in their degree. Think of a long, continuous scale. The frequency of absolute crushing despair and the frequency of profound, ecstatic joy are not two entirely different elements.
They're not.
No, they are opposite poles of the exact same line of energy. Severe material lack and immense overflowing prosperity exist on the same continuous spectrum.
I want to make sure you, the listener, grasp this because it sounds like a physics metaphor.
It isn't chilly.
It's like a temperature dial.
Perfect analogy.
You don't curse the cold for existing as some malicious evil force. You recognize that cold is literally just the absence of heat.
Yes.
It's the same energy spectrum. The outside world is just the thermometer telling you where the dial is currently resting.
The temperature dial is the perfect functional analogy. Because cold and heat reside on the same spectrum, if you are experiencing severe, bone-chilling lack, the hidden gift is that you are already holding the very line of energy that leads directly to immense abundance.
Wait, just by experiencing the lack, I'm holding the line to abundance.
You are on the right spectrum. You possess the mental will to simply slide your awareness up that scale.
Okay, give me an example of how this looks in practice.
Imagine an individual experiencing an epoch of profound physical illness or crushing, debilitating exhaustion.
Very relatable for a lot of people.
The biological and cultural instinct is to deeply resent the weakness, right? To fight the illness with anger, to view the body as broken and adversarial.
The evolutionary instinct is to panic. The amygdala fires, the stress hormones flood the system, and we define our entire identity by the illness.
We say, I am sick.
Yeah, we say, I am sick, my life is ruined, I am a victim of this broken biology.
But when you view it through the lens of polarity and correspondence, you read that physical exhaustion merely as neutral data.
Just a reading on the thermometer.
Yes. It is a flawless reflection of a depleted internal state. It is the cosmos providing a clear, undeniable physical signal that a conscious shift toward the frequency of vitality is required.
So you don't fight it.
You do not wage war against the cold. Doing so only focuses your attention on the cold, thereby generating more of it.
Because whatever you focus on grows.
Precisely. You simply turn your entire focus to generating heat. You consciously slide the internal dial.
I am following the logic, I really am.
Mm-hmm.
But the practical execution feels impossibly difficult.
It is the work of a lifetime.
Let's say I understand the need to slide the dial. I consciously focus on abundance. I focus on vitality. I try my absolute hardest to generate the heat.
Okay.
But why is it so incredibly agonizing to keep the dial up there? It feels as though the very act of wanting the heat, the very act of desiring the change, creates a massive internal friction that just violently yanks the dial right back down to freezing.
You have just articulated the great paradox of manifestation and intention.
The paradox.
The very act of deeply, desperately wanting something reinforces a powerful vibrational frequency of not having it.
Oh, wow.
Desire, in its traditional desperate sense, the yearning, the craving, the hoping, is ultimately a loud, continuous declaration of absence.
So when I say, I desperately need this money to survive, the energetic signature I am actually transmitting isn't about money at all.
No, it's about the lack of it.
I am broadcasting, I do not have this money, I am in danger.
You are broadcasting the pure frequency of lack.
Which just brings more lack.
Exactly. If the universe operates on a principle of resonance where equivalent frequencies invariably seek each other out and draw together, then emitting the heavy, desperate frequency of needing will only attract circumstances, events, and people that generate more situations of needing.
It becomes an infinite self-perpetuating loop of lack.
A trap. To truly align with your emotional blueprint, you cannot want the outcome. You must cultivate the profound, undeniable bodily sensation of already possessing it in the present moment.
I need you to break down the mechanics of that because, honestly, it sounds like we are bordering on self-delusion.
It can feel that way at first.
Right. How do we hack our own neurology to feel genuinely deeply grateful for a phantom reality?
It requires a shift in what you consider real.
How do I feel overwhelming gratitude for a thriving, massive business or a completely healed physical body when the immediate empirical evidence of my senses points entirely to the contrary? If my bank account is at zero, feeling grateful for wealth feels like I am actively lying to myself,
It feels like a lie only if you hold the foundational belief that the dense physical realm is the primary ultimate reality.
which most of us do.
We do. But once you undergo the paradigm shift and accept that the subtle mental realm is the actual origin point of all things, you realize you are not lying to yourself at all.
You're just looking at a different layer of reality.
You are simply acknowledging a profound truth before it has had the necessary time to condense into physical matter.
Okay, I think I'm getting.
True. Transformative gratitude must be felt for the mental reality first. When you generate immense, heart-expanding gratitude for an unseen reality, you are emitting the pure, unadulterated frequency of having.
You're signaling to the unified field that the event has already occurred.
Yes. The physical plane then has no option but to organize itself to match that undeniable dominant frequency.
Let me try an analogy to ground this.
Go for it.
It's like the feeling you get when you place a highly anticipated online order.
Okay, I like where this is going.
The item hasn't arrived yet. The physical box is not in your hands. But you don't sit by the front door weeping in despair because your hands are empty the second you click purchase.
No, you don't.
You feel a genuine sense of satisfaction, a relief, because you know the complex logistical mechanism is already in motion. A warehouse is boxing it up, a truck is being
The
loaded,
process has begun.
and you have the receipt. You hold a receipt in your hand, and that receipt gives you the feeling of possession, even though the physical item is miles away. The mental image, the emotional blueprint, is the receipt.
That illustrates the psychological state perfectly. The mental blueprint is the absolute guarantee. You hold the energetic receipt.
Right.
However, as you accurately pointed out, maintaining that state of calm certainty in the face of physical challenges is tremendously difficult.
Especially when the bills are due.
Exactly. And this is exactly where we must move out of the realm of abstract philosophy and directly address the dense physical biology of the human vessel.
We have to talk about the body.
We absolutely must.
Because you can sit on a cushion and think lofty, abundant, cosmic thoughts all day long. But if your heart rate is elevated, your palms are sweating, and your stomach is tied in knots from anxiety, those thoughts aren't going anywhere.
They cannot anchor.
You cannot plant a beautiful, delicate garden in the middle of a screaming tornado.
The physical vessel is the bottleneck. A new mental frequency simply cannot take root in a chaotic, chronically deregulated nervous system.
It just rejects it.
True embodiment of a new reality requires a total systemic alignment of your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, and your physical biology. And the absolute gateway to that alignment is nervous system regulation.
So we're talking about calming the body down.
We are. We carry the heavy kinetic energy of past traumas in our muscle tissue, and we constantly project our cognitive energy into terrifying, unwritten future anxieties.
We are scattered across the timeline, living everywhere but the present moment.
Precise.
We are projecting our awareness into a past that is gone and a future that hasn't happened. We're everywhere except right here, inside the body.
To anchor the new frequency of your emotional blueprint, we must deliberately, consciously call all of our scattered energy back from bygone eras and from distant future catastrophes.
Call it all back home.
We must anchor purely, heavily, in the immediate present moment. And the mechanical process of this internal shift begins with the physical breath specifically, rhythmic, measured breathing.
It's akin to trying to install a massive, brilliant software update on a technological device that is severely overheating.
Exact.
You cannot force the installation. You have to cool the hardware down first. You have to force quit all the background applications that are draining the battery and causing the processor to panic.
Close the tabs.
Yes, close all the mental tabs. You must physically regulate the hardware before the new identity software can successfully boot up and run.
That is the exact physiological process taking place. When we are caught in the treadmill chase, our bodies are locked in a sympathetic nervous system state, the fight or flight response.
Pure survival mode.
By intentionally alternating measured deep breaths between the lower center of gravity, the belly, and the heart space, we manually force the nervous system out of that sympathetic survival panic.
We take the wheel back.
We guide it into a parasympathetic state of deep rest, safety, and profound receptivity. It is a biological override code.
Let's get very visual and specific with this practice. When someone is doing this breathing, when they are actively cooling the hardware down, what should they be visualizing? What is happening on a subtle, energetic level?
As the breathing slows the heart rate, you can visualize it as a luminous, pure column of energy descending from the cosmos, entering through the crown of the head.
Okay, a column of light.
This energy is deeply soothing. It coats every cell, neutralizing the chaotic friction of anxiety. It travels down through the spinal column, moving through the legs, and tethering you deeply to the dense magnetic core of the earth.
Grounding you.
This roots you in absolute physical stability. Simultaneously, you visualize that energy rebounding upward from the earth, rising through your chest and expanding out infinitely into the unified field of consciousness.
Wow.
You transform yourself into a grounded, stable conduit between the dense physical earth and the infinite cosmos.
You are literally plugging yourself into the mainframe. You are establishing a stable connection.
You are. And in that deeply regulated, expansive state, you do not just intellectually think about your emotional blueprint. You physically absorb it into your tissues.
Embodying it.
You adopt the serene, secure, undeniably confident physical posture of the version of you that already inhabits that desired reality.
So it changes how you sit, how you walk.
Ask yourself, how does that future version of you breathe? How do their shoulders sit when they possess absolute security? You must embody it biologically, not just mentally.
I want to explore the idea of using physical somatic anchors for this because, well, the body keeps the score.
It always remembers.
I've encountered practices where, while in that state of deep parasympathetic calm, individuals will physically tap their chest right over the sternum in a slow, measured rhythm.
A very powerful technique.
It's like they are anchoring a new identity right into the bone marrow and muscle memory. With every tap, they state inwardly, with absolute unwavering conviction that their success, their deep peace, their immense prosperity is an absolute inevitability. It is inevitable.
That physical action, that rhythmic, percussive cadence against the chest wall serves as a neurological timestamp.
The timestamp.
When you pair a profound state of emotional certainty with a specific physical touch, you lock the frequency of inevitability directly into the cellular memory.
You program the body.
You're actively training the body to feel physically safe in the presence of overwhelming prosperity.
Wait, feel safe in prosperity. Doesn't prosperity inherently feel safe?
Not to a deregulated nervous system, this step is critical because a chronically stressed nervous system will actually sabotage incoming success if it perceives the unfamiliarity of abundance as a threat to its established baseline of stress.
That is a staggering realization.
It explains so much self-sabotage.
We often subconsciously repel the exact outcomes we consciously desire because our bodies are chemically addicted to the familiar cocktail of cortisol and stress.
The abundance feels alien.
So the body rejects it to return to familiar suffering. Okay, let us map where we are right now in this journey.
Let's summarize.
We have set the expansive emotional blueprint. We have cooled the biological hardware. We have calmed the nervous system and plugged into the conduit.
We are grounded.
We are tapped into the cosmos, generating the intense gratitude of already having the receipt. We are vibrating at the unshakable frequency of absolute inevitability.
Everything is aligned.
And then a random Tuesday morning happens.
The inevitable collision with the density of physical reality.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
The engine of the car catastrophically fails. A vital client unexpectedly severs a contract. A massive, devastating bill arrives in the mail. A health scare emerges.
The storm returns.
Suddenly, a crisis hits, and the entire physical structure of your life seems to shatter. You are flying high, holding your beautiful emotional blueprint, and the external world just hits you in the face with a brick.
It hurts.
What happens now? Because the immediate thought is, this doesn't work. The universe is broken. I am a fool for believing in this.
This specific moment is the critical juncture where the overwhelming majority of individuals completely abandon their alignment and run terrified back to the treadmill.
They give up.
When the external world dramatically and sometimes violently challenges your newly established frequency, it is absolutely imperative to understand that this is not a failure of the system.
It's not.
You have not done anything wrong. It is an integrity check.
An integrity check. It's the universe, the unified field, essentially asking, are you certain? Do you really hold this frequency of abundance in your bones, or were you just visiting it as a temporary tourist?
It is a test of structural soundness. The cosmos operates on a universal principle of rhythm. Everything in existence is subject to a continuous, unavoidable ebb and flow. It is the eternal swing of the pendulum.
Right, up and down.
Tides rise to magnificent heights, and tides recede to expose the bare sand. Seasons cycle from the explosion of spring to the barren stillness of winter.
So nothing stays static.
Nothing. When the energetic tide of your life goes out and circumstances seem to contract, it is never a punishment. It is a profound opportunity to double down on your chosen frequency.
So the biggest mistake we make is personalizing the downward swing.
We make it about us.
We look at the receding tide and we say, oh, I'm terrible at this. I must harbor deep, toxic negativity that is ruining my life. We take the rhythm of the universe as a personal insult.
Personalizing the natural ebb of the rhythm is the ultimate trap. When the pendulum swings backward, old, dormant belief systems will naturally resurface to tempt you.
You'll ghosts come back.
They do. The external data will aggressively try to confirm your old, familiar identity of lack, fear, and victimhood. True resilience in this specific context is defined strictly as your ability to maintain your internal frequency despite overwhelming, screaming external contradictions.
I am reminded of a profoundly moving anonymous account I read recently. It perfectly encapsulates this integrity check.
I'd love to hear it.
It was about an individual who was undergoing a massive, courageous life transition, adopting a nomadic existence. They had packed their entire life, every meaningful possession, their vital documents, their tools for their livelihood, into a single vehicle, embarking on a bold new chapter.
A huge leap of faith.
And in a solitary spark of brutal misfortune, every single possession was stolen.
Oh, no.
All their bags, their family history, their comforts, their security vanished in an instant. They were left standing on a distant shore with literally nothing but the clothes on their back.
A profound, devastating disruption of physical security, the ultimate, absolute integrity check.
Now, the standard, conditioned human reaction to that event is complete, prolonged devastation.
Of course.
The pendulum swings back with terrifying force, and it crushes your spirit. You declare yourself a victim of a cruel world.
You curse the universe.
But because this particular individual had previously done the work to detach their internal state from material outcomes, because they had anchored entirely into their emotional blueprint of inherent wholeness, their internal state remained remarkably untouched.
They didn't break.
They realized, with profound clarity, that things are merely things. Material objects flow in and they flow out. By refusing to attach their core sense of abundance and safety to those physical bags, they proved to themselves that true security is an impenetrable internal citadel.
A fortress.
No external thief, no stroke of bad luck can steal your internal frequency.
And arriving at that realization is the true mastery of the principle of rhythm. If you anchor your psychological well-being to dense physical objects or specific outcomes, you will be violently, endlessly thrown around by the pendulum of life.
You'll be a puppet.
You will be a victim of circumstance. But if you anchor your well-being deep within your internal emotional blueprint, you observe the catastrophic loss merely as the tide going out.
It hurts, but it doesn't destroy you.
You feel the grief of the human experience, certainly, but beneath the grief, you possess the absolute, unshakable certainty that the tide must, by universal law, eventually return.
We are essentially learning to become like the seasoned surfer.
Yes.
When a magnificent wave inevitably ends and the surfer sinks back into the flat, still water, they don't throw a violent tantrum.
They don't try to punch the ocean.
Right. They don't scream at the sky and declare that the ocean is fundamentally broken or that water has ceased to exist. They simply recognize the rhythm of the sea. They paddle calmly back out, they rest on their board, they regulate their breathing, and they wait with quiet anticipation for the next swell.
The surfer aligns their entire being with the rhythm of nature, rather than wasting their energy fighting the reality of the flat water.
Let's transition to the next phase, because this is where many philosophies of manifestation fall short.
The physical reality test.
We are internally fortified. We have weathered the storm. We have passed the brutal integrity check without losing our center. But we still exist in a dense, demanding physical world.
We still have bodies.
Life still requires us to move, to act, to build, to pay the bills. We cannot just meditate on a metaphorical surfboard for the rest of our lives.
Action is required.
How do we take necessary action in the physical world without immediately falling back into that exhausting, fearful treadmill chase we discussed at the very beginning? How do we build empires or families or art without burning out our biology?
This requires a transition from the subtle realm of pure vibration into the dense physical theater of motion.
moving into the physical.
Action is absolutely required. However, the action you take must be of a completely different nature than the frantic, adrenaline-fueled running on the treadmill.
What kind of action, though?
Action must be what we term inspired.
Inspired action.
Inspired action is a natural, immediate, almost undeniable compulsion. It flows effortlessly from your state of inner alignment. It feels significantly less like a burden you must force yourself to carry, and more like a current you cannot stop yourself from riding.
Contrast that with forced labor, which is driven entirely by a fear of consequence or crippling guilt or the heavy weight of external societal expectations.
It's a totally different engine.
Forced action is running away from a predator. Inspired action is running toward a light.
This introduces another profound universal principle, the principle of gender.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
This principle dictates that all acts of creation in the universe require the harmonization of two dual forces. We have the active, projecting, pushing energy, which we can call the will.
The masculine active side.
And we have the receptive, yielding, magnetic energy, which we can call the desire or the blueprint.
The feminine receptive side.
And if we look at our culture, we are massively, overwhelmingly conditioned to over-index on that active, pushing energy.
We idolize it. We are praised and rewarded for grinding, for forcing outcomes, for agonizing over spreadsheets until dawn, for never sleeping.
The hustle culture.
We treat life like a brutal wrestling match, where we must pin reality to the mat to get what we want.
And that systemic cultural imbalance inevitably leads to a massive societal depletion of vitality.
Burnout.
We label it burnout, chronic fatigue, or depression. It is the literal exhaustion of utilizing only half of the creative forces available to us while constantly fighting against the current.
But the other extreme doesn't work either, right?
Exactly. Conversely, resting solely in the receptive, yielding energy, just sitting on the cushion, dreaming, feeling good, and taking no physical steps yields no physical fruit.
The seed is just sitting in your hand.
The brilliant seed is held in the hand, but never planted in the dark soil. True, masterful manifestation weaves the active, pushing will and the receptive, yielding desire together in a seamless, elegant dance.
This sounds incredibly beautiful in theory, a perfect balance of forces. But I want to push back and get very granular here because human psychology is tricky.
It is very good at deceiving itself.
How do we practically, in the heat of the moment, distinguish between a genuine intuitive nudge, true inspired action, and the anxious compulsion of our terrified minds screaming, "You must do something right this second to fix this situation before it all collapses"?
Because physically, they can both feel like an urgent need to move.
Right. They both elevate the heart rate.
The distinction lies not in the physical motion itself, but in the internal friction accompanying it.
The friction.
True inspired action feels remarkably effortless, much like water finding its natural path downhill. It carries a distinct sense of lightness, a quiet, undeniable certainty.
If the work is hard.
Even if the physical task requires immense, grueling physical exertion like building a house or writing a massive manuscript, the internal psychological friction is zero. The body may tire, but the spirit is energized.
And forced action.
Forced action, born of anxiety and lack, feels like pushing a massive, jagged boulder upstream against a raging current.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
The physical effort might be identical to the inspired action, but the internal state is riddled with crippling doubt, tightness in the chest, and a desperate, suffocating attachment to the final outcome.
Let me offer an analogy to clarify the internal feeling.
Please do.
Inspired action feels like genuine physical hunger. It is entirely natural to eat when you are deeply hungry. The act of eating doesn't feel like a chore or a burden. It feels like fulfillment.
It's natural.
Forced action feels like trying to aggressively stuff yourself with food when you are already painfully full, simply because someone terrified you by saying the food supply might disappear tomorrow.
That's a very visceral comparison.
The action is eating, but the motivation is deeply rooted in scarcity and fear.
That perfectly illustrates the divergence in motivation. When you are resting in your aligned blueprint and you receive that quiet, immediate compulsion, that sudden, intuitive hit to make a specific phone call, to walk down a certain street you normally avoid, to suddenly start writing a letter, you must act on it immediately.
Don't wait.
If you hesitate, if you pause to analyze it, the rational, fearful human intellect will swiftly intervene.
It will talk you out of it.
It will construct an elaborate, logical fortress of reasons why it is a foolish, risky, or unproductive idea. You must bypass the fear-driven intellect and move boldly on the inspiration.
Which brings us to the most difficult hurdle of the entire process.
The final step.
You have aligned your frequency. You have passed the brutal tests. You have taken the inspired action. You made the intuitive call. You built the risky prototype. You walked down the unfamiliar street.
You planted the seed.
Now comes what is undeniably the most challenging, counterintuitive step of the entire human experience.
Doing absolutely nothing else.
Doing nothing.
The phase of surrender.
I hate this phase.
We all do. The final, crucial step of physical actualization requires releasing all desperate attachment to the specific outcome, relinquishing control over the timeline, and completely abandoning the need to know how the universe will deliver the result.
Releasing the how goes against every instinct I have.
It goes against the ego's entire job description.
We love to engineer the exact sequence of events. We love to micromanage the universe. We want to draw the map for how the abundance arrives.
But our rational engineering, our human logic, is severely comically limited.
It is.
Strict, rigid timelines and highly orchestrated, micromanaged plans act as suffocating chokeholds on the boundless, infinite potential of the unified field.
We get in our own way.
When you take the inspired action, you must cultivate the profound trust that the action was the seed. You place the seed into the dark soil and you step back. The complex environment will gestate it in its own perfect, unhurried, ancient rhythm.
It is the ultimate test of patience. It is exactly like planting a garden. You do not plant a fragile seed in the dirt on a Tuesday and then violently dig it up on Wednesday morning, screaming at the dirt, demanding to know why it isn't a towering oak tree yet.
You'd kill the sprout.
You don't yell at the soil for being too slow. You provide water when inspired to do so. You pull weeds when necessary. You step back. And you let the immense, unseen forces of nature do their highly complex, miraculous work in the dark.
The chaotic digging up of the seed is the direct interference of the anxious, controlling ego.
Constantly checking if it worked.
Yes. When we bravely surrender the how, we leave infinite, expansive room for vast synchronicities to occur. We allow the cosmos to orchestrate brilliant combinations of events, serendipitous meetings, and sudden, shocking insights that our limited rational minds could never have possibly orchestrated.
Because we couldn't see the whole board?
We must eventually arrive at the ultimate humbling realization. The external things eventually crystallize into dense physical form because of the internal vibration. The vibration precedes the matter, never the other way around.
The internal vibration is the structural mold. The physical world is just the liquid metal eventually pouring into it to take its shape.
The outcome becomes inevitable because the invisible energetic groundwork you laid was flawless.
Let us bring this vast cosmic framework back down to the ground for a moment.
Let's review the journey.
We started this profound exploration on a treadmill, exhausted, terrified, chasing a horizon that maliciously kept moving further away. But look at the continuous, empowering cycle we have mapped out to permanently step off that machine.
It's a completely different way to live.
It starts by taking a breath and defining your emotional blueprint, abandoning the specific object and asking, how do I actually deeply want to feel? Then, looking at the raging storm of your current reality without a shred of judgment, seeing it merely as neutral diagnostic data arriving from a past version of yourself.
You then consciously shift your internal frequency, choosing to slide the dial up the continuous scale of polarity, focusing on the heat rather than the cold.
You rewire the dense biology of your physical body, actively calling your scattered, anxious energy back from the past and future, anchoring your nervous system in the present moment so the new, expansive software can successfully boot up.
You weather the inevitable, terrifying pendulum swings of life, passing the universe's integrity checks without abandoning your internal citadel of peace.
You take bold, inspired action, moving effortlessly like water flowing downhill, not grinding like a boulder being pushed upstream. And finally, you enact the ultimate courage. You surrender to the mysterious process, trusting the seed in the dark soil, releasing the how.
The complete cycle.
When you look at this entire cycle together, it reflects such a profound, staggering truth about human potential. We are not these fragile, passive, victimized creatures sitting at the mercy of a cold, random, uncaring universe.
Never were.
We are conscious, powerful architects. We are actively constructing the tangible, physical reality of our tomorrow from the invisible magnetic material of our own minds today.
We are the origin point of our experience, and deeply, truly recognizing that fact is the ultimate liberation from the treadmill.
It completely flips the script of human existence. It moves us from victim to creator.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this profound exploration together, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final lingering thought.
A takeaway to carry with them.
Yes. This is something to deeply mull over, to hold in your awareness as you navigate the rest of your day and encounter the inevitable frictions of life.
I want you to consider the greatest friction, the most painful frustration, or the most terrifying obstacle you are facing at this exact moment in your life. Look closely at the specific challenge that is causing you the most despair and anxiety.
Bring it right into your mind's eye.
This raises a vitally important question. What if that very obstacle is not a malicious barrier placed on your path to stop you, but the exact, precise diagnostic tool lovingly provided by the cosmos, designed to show you precisely which internal frequency you need to slide up the scale today?